Has everybody heard about David and King Saul? Okay, the title of this message is going to be called Facing Your Giant. And I hope you guys get something new out of the message tonight that we're going to bring. We're going to we're going to go to verse 4. And, you know, the Philistines, they had Goliath. Everybody's always heard about how big and bad Goliath was, right? Okay, it said he was about 9 feet 4 inches tall. That's taller than Josh. He came out of the Philistine camp with the bronze helmet on his head and a coat of bronze armor that weighed about 125 pounds. He wore bronze protectors on his legs, and he had a bronze spear on his back. The wooden part of his larger spear was like a weaver's rod, and its blade weighed about 15 pounds. The officer who carried his shield walked in front of him. And Goliath was taunting people. Taunting means, saying stuff. I'm a Philistine and you're Saul's servants. Choose a man and send him to fight me. If he can fight and kill me, we will be your servants. But if I can kill him, you'll be our servants. He said, today I stand and I dare the army of Israel. Send one of your men to fight me. And when Saul and the Israelites heard the Philistines' words, they were scared. Now David was the son of Jesse, and he was friends with Saul's son. And so they were all out in the field ready for battle, okay? And so going over to 29, or 20, go back up to 28. David's oldest brother heard David talking with the soldiers of Saul. He was angry with David, and he asked David, why did you come here? Who's taking care of the sheep of yours in the desert? I know you're proud and wicked at heart. You came down here just to watch the battle. But see, David was tiny compared. He was a sheep keeper. He was like the least in his family, or considered the least. Okay? And his brother's like, what are you doing down here, man? You're supposed to go over watching the sheep. You just came here because you're proud and you're wicked and you just want to watch everything. And David asked, now what have I done wrong? Can I even talk? When he turned to other people and asked the same questions, they gave him the same answer as before. Yet what David said was told to Saul, and he sent for David. David said to Saul, don't let anyone be discouraged. I, your servant, will go and fight this Philistine. Saul answered, well, you can't go out against this Philistine and fight him. You're only a boy. Goliath has been a warrior since he was a young man. But David said to Saul, I, your servant, have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and took a sheep from the flock, I would chase it. I would attack it and save the sheep from its mouth when it attacked me. I caught it by its fur and hit it and killed it. I, your servant, have killed both a lion and a bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like them, because he has spoken against the armies of the living God. And the Lord, who saved me from a lion and a bear, will save me from the Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and may the Lord be with you. Saul put on his own clothes on David. He put a bronze helmet on his head, dressed him in armor. David put on Saul's sword and tried to walk around, but he was not used to all the armor that Saul had put on him. And he said to Saul, I can't go in this because I'm not used to it. So David threw all that stuff off, you guys. He took his stick in his hand, and he chose 5 smooth stones from a stream. He put them in his shepherd's bag, grabbed his sling, and he went to meet the Philistine. Can you imagine? 5 stones and a slingshot. Weak. And at the same time, the Philistine was coming closer to David. The man who held his shield walked in front of him. When Goliath looked at David and saw that he was only a boy, he was tanned and handsome. He looked down on David with disgust. He said, do you think I'm a dog, that you could come at me with a stick? He used God's name to curse David. He said to David, come here. I'll feed your body to the birds of the air and the wild animals. But David said to him, you come to me using a sword and 2 spears. But I come to you in the name of the Lord, all-powerful, the God of the armies of Israel. You have spoken against him. Today the Lord will hand you over to me. I'll kill you and I'll cut off your head. Today I'll feed the bodies of the Philistine soldiers to the birds of the air and the wild animals. Then all the world will know that there is a God in Israel. Everyone gathered there will know that the Lord does not need swords or spears to save people. The battle belongs to him, and he will hand you over to us." And as Goliath came near to attack him, David ran quickly to meet him. He took a stone from his bag, put it in a sling, and slung it. And it hit Goliath right in the forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So he defeated Goliath with only a sling and a stone. He hit and killed him. He did not even have a sword in his hand. Then David ran and stood beside him. He took Goliath's sword out of his hand and killed him by cutting off his head. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. And I'll let you read the rest of the story later on. But what I want to bring out in this message is we're all going to have giants in our life, okay? Like what happened with Jason, it could be unemployment. It could be somebody that is a sickness in our family or sickness in our body. It can be emotional. You know, mothers have a lot of struggles. Grandparents do. But sometimes we're going to face battles. You know, when I think about the battle, finances get so many of us bent up. I mean, we just get shaken in our boots when things don't go smooth or there's a bump in the road because we're human, okay? But we got to fight that fear with faith. I heard somebody once say that fear, when you get afraid or you want to panic, I want you to think of this. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The devil is trying to paralyze you because by the time you let anxiety take over, you get where you can't breathe. And if you let it rule you, you have to be on medicine. And I'm not knocking medicines, I'm really not. But as Christians, we got to fight that fear. So how do I do that? Stay in the Word, read God's promises. Remember everything He did for the people in the Old and the New Testament. God said He's the same God, yesterday, today, and forever. He doesn't change. But we do. One minute we can be so full of faith, and I used to be that up and down Christian. And I'm not like super Christian here, but as you grow in the Lord, you might think for a minute in the flesh, oh no, here we go again, another problem. I can't believe this is happening. Try not to let your mind go there, because usually in a marriage, one of you, if one's down, the other should be lifting the other one up. Same in the church, same Christian body should be lifting people up, because everybody can't be strong at the same time, And so it's like, sometimes you have to hold people's arms up until they get stronger. But there comes a point in the Lord that we have to know how to get a hold of the Lord, and then we talk to our situation, not the devil. Only to tell him to get behind me, Satan, in the name of Jesus. Always use the name of Jesus, because them demons are powerful, but they're not more powerful than the name of Jesus. Anytime, other than that, we shouldn't be having conversations with the devil, except to rebuke him in the name of the Lord. Yeah, but I want you to know this. I'm going to bring this up, and this is not an insult to any Christian or anybody that would be listening out there that's going to hear this tape eventually. But I do want to say this. Georgia fought a 10-year battle. And her life, the quality of her life, the physical part, it declined a lot. And it got to the point where she couldn't hardly get out of the house. She had to have hospice come in once. And I loved her spirit. She said, "Oh, Martha, I told them, I sent them packing." I thought, "Oh, what have you done?" In my spirit, I thought, what have you done? Because there's things they had that she needed. But the Lord showed me. She had her faith. She said, I told him I didn't have an expiration date. I told him what you told me. I said, no. You told him what the Lord said, that He's in control. And she told them, sent them packing and told them, I don't have an expiration date. And I was proud of her faith. But at first, my flesh thought, what have you done? Because they supplied a lot of things because she couldn't get out to the doctor. But then it just got to where she was in the hospital so much. And so she was in so much pain. And it was sad to see. But I got to see the faith of David in Georgia. I did. And it's like I was telling her family and friends at the funeral, I said, you know, I never heard a cuss word out of that woman's mouth. I know her 30 years, never heard a cuss word. And she was my supervisor in 2 jobs. She wasn't afraid to take care of the problem. Well, obviously David wasn't scared to take care of the problem, was he? But it wasn't because he thought he was all big and bad. It was because he had faith in the Lord and he trusted the Lord to deliver him. And that's what we have to do. It don't mean we're going to be super Christian, but whenever you go through something, I hope after this message that you'll remember David and Georgia. And, you know, it's like I told her family. She was in love with the Lord, but on them jobs, I never heard her raise her voice. You know, I thought that, okay, I'll take the Bible over there because I knew she loved the Lord. She didn't go to church and she missed church. And that's how that started. And yes, we had time where we fellowship, but the primary thing was to take the Word in there to her. And she was in love with the Lord. And it's like I told them, I didn't teach her a thing. I maybe encouraged her, but guess what? I learned from Georgia. But I've seen that woman suffer real bad the last 3 years of her life. Never heard a cuss word on the job, never heard her raise her voice. What an example I learned from her life. Not so much what she would say, it was the life that she lived. And how many of us, her smile never dimmed, her joy and the love that she had, not only for the Lord, but her family and her friends, you know, and the heart she had. She didn't want anybody to suffer. She didn't. And it's like I told them, I don't know that any of us who of us could say that we could smile for 3 years when you're in the hospital more than you're out. You get to a point you can't get out of the bed, you know, and you don't have the same quality of life. And believe me, when you get to where you're shut in, there ain't very many people that want to come and see you because, A, they're too busy, it inconveniences them, or there's people that can't stand to see people sick and die. But somebody has to pick up the cross of Jesus and help carry them people's burdens. Like the man, you know, Jesus was going to Golgotha, which is where the place he was crucified. They had to have a man help Jesus carry that cross. And that's what we got to do. It's not just being the group, it's help sharing other people's burdens. You know, that don't mean that you get weighed down. You got to really stay in the Word because that stuff will hurt you when you see people suffer. But when I think about David, I think about modern day Georgia. And she loved the Lord. And when I look at her life, I tell myself now, what do I have to complain about? Not because she went on to be with the Lord, because like Martin said, she's enjoying everything that God has for her. But when somebody lives that kind of life, she knew she wasn't a perfect Christian. There's times she got upset, but she didn't let that rule her life. She didn't let that affect relationships. And, you know, after she went to be with the Lord, I realized, you know, that all the things that I thought I did for her, I learned from her life, you know, and I've been so blessed. And so when I look at George's life, I don't have anything to complain about, you know, not a thing. And I thank God. There was a lot of times that I didn't feel like going to the hospital, and it hurt to see her suffer, you know. And I cried and told her family, you know, when she was in back there and we were in the quiet room at the hospital and we knew it was critical and she needed a miracle, told her family, I said, I feel like I failed her because there's times that I didn't feel like I was enough. There was times that it hurt to see her suffer, and I had to make myself go because she was my friend. But she was also a child of God that needed the Word. And I had to put my personal feelings aside and go. And there's a lot of times I would be down in my body, and Martin saw me getting out of bed, couldn't hardly walk, and no glory to me. It took God. And I love Georgia, and I wouldn't mind, now I look back, and I'm not going to beat up on myself, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't mind making another drive or another ride to that hospital to be there. And we have to be like Christ in those times, and when we go through things, we're going to get scared and we're going to hurt, but we have to realize, do you guys, we think of this as just stories, but don't we really know that God is with us? If we know that, we might have to remind ourselves, going out to the Outlander was the truck or Outlander, it was a truck we went to Lowe's in to get the dryer. I mean, Josh didn't even know. Things were just happening here. It was like bad news after bad news. You guys get what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. And it's like with this coronavirus, every day you turn on the news. If it bothers you, shut it off. You do need to be informed a little bit about what's going on in the world. But I'm here to tell you, God's in control. I know people panicking all over the place. And, all I'm going to say is don't panic, be prepared, and have faith. And just like when Moses and the Israelites went out, they was in the desert 40 years, God didn't let them starve, Jason. God did not let the Israelites starve. Remember when he sent the manna to feed them? And if God provides for the birds, doesn't he love us so much more? He's going to provide. We may not have everything we want, but can any of us ever say we starved? No. We may have been, I tell everybody, my wells may have been low at times, but God ain't never let them run dry. And if we're down all the time, how, we can't, like that Samaritan woman, remember we had a message on that. She came with an empty bucket, but had Jesus not been there, her bucket, she left with living water, not just water from the well. But you can't give somebody something you don't have. You got to keep your well full, because there's going to come somebody in your life, Vicky, somebody in Andrew's, Josh's, and Peta's, and Jason's, and Martin's, and mine. We got to not let our wells run dry, because we have to step up, and we have to be there for people, because they're going to have problems like that you guys have went through, and maybe it's something Martin and I haven't went through. And you say, well, how can I help them? You don't help them with just your advice. You've got to know some of this to encourage them. And I don't say you got to be a Bible scholar, but we have to know. There's that people say, well, you're just saying that. And when people go through things, they think they're the only one. But if you remember some of this Bible, you're going to be able to say, hey, there's a shepherd boy named David. He went and fought a giant. He fought in the name of the Lord. And everybody around him thought he was going to get his behind kicked by the giant. And he's the one that slew the giant. And you say, well, how do I face the giants in my life? Depends on what your giant is, how you go about it. But the first thing you do is you take it in prayer to the Lord. And the Lord's going to give you wisdom, like going and applying for unemployment. God's going to put people in your life that'll help you and surround you and encourage you and love you, And mainly, it's going to be God, though, that is your supplier. It's not going to be unemployment. It's not going to be food stamps. It's not going to be Martin's boss. and the signature on the check. And hey, we're grateful for that, because a lot of people don't have jobs right now, you know. But we have learned that we're not going to be like we were 10 years ago, because we've grown in the Lord, and we're going to trust the Lord, and we're going to continue to pray. And if hard times come, we know that happened in the desert to the Israelites, and their shoes never wore out. Stop and think about this. Can you imagine having shoes that lasted 40 years, clothes that never wore out? That took God. You know, they were all griping. Remember that? That's why one reason they never got out of some of the older ones never got out of the desert. They just kept wandering around. It was only the younger generation that got out. But it was because they murmured and they complained. And I'm asking God to help me with that in my life. Because, you know, I get my aggravations, so believe me, you know. But when I think about the David in Georgia, it was really the God in Georgia, you know. But when I look at Georgia's life, I want that to encourage me, and I thank God. I thank God I have that example. Really, me and her got even closer the last 3 years, you know. And there's a bond that happens when you're friends, but then everybody lives their life, works their jobs. But you're going to find out real quick who your friends are. When you don't have anything financially, when you can't go places because you don't even have the gas in your car, you're going to find out when you get stuck in a bed who really loves you. But there's nobody that loves more than Jesus Christ. And although I was George's friend, at times I was weak in my spirit. And it took God. You know, it really, I couldn't have made that without Martin, but mainly the Lord sustained me, because there's a lot of times Martin dropped me at the door because they had the flu ban. He couldn't go in and take Peta, you know, and when Martin could go, he did. But I just want to tell you this. Whenever you think that you can't take anymore, we've all been there. Think about Jesus going to the cross. Think about when they were beating him. We don't really know what was in his mind as far as his humanness. Remember we talked about that? So we have never suffered like Christ. And I don't know about you, but I've faced some giants in my life. But I think about the faith of David, and I think about, would I have that courage? I don't know. I'd like to think I would, but I don't know. I'd really have to be prayed up, I'll be honest with you. But there's always going to come people in your life that's going to, like him, they're going to say things about your walk with Christ, and you just have to keep walking. And sometimes you're going to have people in your life, and it's not even going to be you, it's going to be the Lord. You know how when you plant a garden, you got to weed it, or the weeds take over the plant that you planted, and it'll choke it, and it'll die? Sometimes God cuts people out of your life. You don't even have to do it. Now sometimes you got to back off and pray for them if they're doing things that could get you thrown in jail, or get your kids took away. But believe me, sometimes God will weed your garden. But that's, a lot of hurtful things will come in your life. Job losses, like we talked, death's going to come if the Lord don't come back. We're going to see more people pass on, and our joy should be that they know the Lord, you know. And yeah, sometimes I do occasionally cry when I think about Georgia, but then I have to smile because Georgia was confident of the Lord, not in herself, and she knew where she stood with God and where she was going. You know, and I think about her up there now. She don't have to worry about nothing breaking in her house because she's in a mansion walking on streets of gold and praising the Lord. And she don't have to worry about the night coming anymore because God's glory is so bright, there's no nighttime in heaven. I've never read that anywhere in the Bible because His glory shines so bright. So she don't have anxiety. She didn't go to heaven, you know. She got sick. She's in a new body. But when I think about the faith of David, I mean, how many people can say they can walk right up to that giant? And I just want you guys, whenever something comes in your life that troubles you to the point that you can't get any peace, I just want you to say, what's the key? God, I trust you. Your timing is perfect and your plan is perfect. The main thing that you need to speak to your situation aloud, don't let it torment you, because the devil specializes in bringing fear and torment. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Jason, I can't say the devil took your job because life happens. But I know one thing, the devil will have a heyday with your mind, and you know what? Nobody can drive us crazy unless we give him the keys. You know? And think of it like this. If we let the devil torment us, that's like giving him free rent in our head. Right? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to give the devil any time in my head. He tries to get in there. Sometimes he does for a little bit, but then I realize it's him, and I have to speak to the situation, you know, and then I have to rebuke him in the name of the Lord. And that's when I ask the Lord to help me. But then I have to keep telling myself, Jason, when things go from bad, Christians say, well, things have went from bad to worse. Yep, that happens. Believe you me. And things might get a little bit worse. But just realize, all of us need to say, God is in what? Control. And one night, walk into that truck, and I know that dryer ain't a major thing to everybody, but I don't like being in debt. I don't want to go in debt for anything, you know? And I believe God's going to make a way for us to pay that dryer off. But all the way to that truck, it wasn't just the dryer, it was everything that had happened in the prior week, you know? I just buried my friend, and I had to keep telling myself on the way, and Josh probably thought she's lost her mind. All the way to the truck, I kept saying, God's in control, God's in control, because if I hadn't said that out loud and got that in my ears, and once you get something in your ears, where does it go? Yes. And then, if I once it's in your heart, nobody can take it away. Amen. Good. Nobody can take it out unless you allow them. But remember this, whenever you feel like you're going crazy, nobody can drive you there unless you give them the keys. So don't give Satan the keys to drive you nuts. You know, God's in control. He's not your co-pilot. He is the pilot of your life and everything you have. And nothing that you go through, we said this before, takes Jesus by what? Nothing takes Jesus by, he knows everything. Surprise. God knows everything about your situation, you know. And remember this, I just want to say this. When Moses was in the wilderness with the Israelites, can you imagine all the hardships that he went through as a leader? But that's where God placed him. Jason and Vicki and Josh and Peyton, there's areas in your life that God has placed you, you know. And we can either be alive or we can be stagnant, you know. And the Bible says, when we know Jesus, we have rivers of living water flowing out of our belly. But here's the problem, and I'm talking to me too here. We got to watch. We can have rivers of living water flowing out of our belly, but then we can stop that flow because of what comes out of our mouth. And so we got to watch that. We speak fear or faith. There's no in between, you know. And it's okay to say, hey, I don't like the situation I'm in, guys. It's uncomfortable. I'm worried. But then there comes a point you don't stay stuck there. Because other people, Jason, are going to need you to say, man, I've been there. I'm going through it now. But I know God's a healer. He's a deliverer. And he's going to make a way for me. If he could feed the Israelites when Moses and them guys was in the desert 40 years, their sandals didn't wear out, their clothes didn't wear out, how much more will God do for me? He's the same God now as he was then, you know? And that's when you say, can I pray with you? Can I pray that God will give you peace? You know, can I pray for your finances? Can I pray? And they might not let you pray for them. If they don't, we talked about that before. You just say, okay, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And then you've done your part. But you're going to be the inspiration. You'll either keep people in the molly grubs, you know what that is? They say misery loves company. I'm not saying you're miserable, but like somebody might try to pull you down in your spirit. Don't let them. Don't let them. You say, hey, God's going to help me find a job. If I don't get my job back over at that restaurant, God's going to give me a better job. And that's the kind of faith we need to stand up and start speaking. You know, because when you speak it, it gets in your ears and it goes to your heart. And then once it's in your heart, it's like, yeah, God, I get that. I remember about David, and I remember about Moses and the Israelites. If you did it for them, you're going to protect me. And you know, one thing I just want to say this. You've got to realize that God is with you, and He's for you. God is not against you. And God's not trying to punish people when they go through things. I mean, like the loss of a job. I don't believe God's punishing you. You guys have been faithful trying to come to church meetings. Why did God punish you guys? You know? So don't get that in your head. A lot of people start feeling guilt when something bad happens. Well, God, what did I do? Well, I used to be one of them. And I still examine my heart because God can't allow, but I believe when things happen sometimes, God is wanting to develop our faith, you know, in all of it. So, our main thing we learned out of this is God's faithful. He's going to make a way when there seems no way. He's the God of the impossible. Let me tell you, one more thing. When He went to that tomb, He knew Lazarus had been dead. And Lazarus was stinking in that grave, they said. And let me tell you, if God could raise Lazarus, can't God provide a job and food and money for bills? And see, it's like this. It's like I think I told you and Jason. I said, have you ever been read a bedtime story as a child, and maybe whoever was reading it to you got tired, or they thought you were tired, and they said, well, we'll finish the story another time. You couldn't finish it. That's how God is. You know? God doesn't show you or tell you the whole story. He doesn't always tell you, I don't want to say the end, but He's not going to tell you the whole story sometimes, because what's He trying to do? Build your faith. He's wanting you to seek Him. He already knows what He's going to do with you and Jason's lives in your situation. Hey, He knows years from now what He's going to do in you and Josh's life. That He just wants you and Josh to draw closer to Him and spend time with Him. And forgive me, but other than praise and worship, and I'm speaking mainly to you, I'm not lecturing you because I'm lecturing me. All of us need to put these phones down so many times a day. We need to be praying, reading our devotionals, cutting our Xbox time back, cutting TV time back, Facebook, Messenger. I'm not saying God didn't create those things for us to enjoy, but sometimes technology takes us over. And then we become worse than a drug addict. We become a Facebook addict, or I'm speaking to me, because it told me how much time I spent on there. Then I tried to justify it in my mind. Well, Lord, I was just sending people Bible scriptures. Well, that ain't all I was doing, you know, when I could have been spending more time in the Word, you know. And so I just want to encourage everybody. I want to tell you again and again, God's in control. Don't let the devil control you. Don't let fear control you. Don't let social media control you. Don't panic. Get, prepared. And what is fear again? False evidence appearing real. The devil uses fear to stop you, trap you, and paralyze you. But don't give him the keys to drive you crazy. And we just bless the name of the Lord. And we thank you for coming out to Crossover Ministry tonight. And everybody be blessed.